Winning. I've outsmarted you on a number of levels. Beta. Well, actually, King's not. Beta.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
Keep your mouth shut. I'm going to go in there and slap your face.
You know, we're going to rise like the Phoenix. And
Get in my limousine. Ride on 85. Get in my Learjet. Woo!
Welcome to the Asterisk and Collusion podcast. You're here with the King, and I'm joined with the Grizz in person.
That's right.
We are here for our special draft day pod.
Yeah, we had a fun day here in Wilmington, and the draft's going to start here about an hour and 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Bears are on the clock, but I believe we did picks 1 through 22 already. So we're on 23, the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of draft rumors and things going on, but, you know, the draft's just around the corner, really. But we'll kick it off with the Arizona Cardinals in a trade. Same, hypothetically, they get the trade from the Minnesota Vikings. I think there's going to be a lot of trades, and we'll get to that in a minute. Roll through these picks. But at 23, I had the Cardinals taking another defensive lineman, the Illinois defensive tackle, Jerzon Newton. And I have him a pro comparison, kind of like the Jalen Carter. He's from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a really good guy, got a 3-technique gap penetrator. And I don't know where he's going to go in the draft, but I do have him as a solid first-round draft pick. You know much or thinking much about him at all?
I don't know. No, I think it's possible. I have him kind of towards the end of the first, top of the second, where he'll go. He could slip in the second round. I think it's a solid pick. I'm not too crazy about him personally. I think I would probably is this with the Cardinals, you said?
Yeah.
If I'm them, I'm probably looking at a receiver. Is deep receiver draft. They might have someone else in mind, and I probably would go with pass catcher for Kyler Murray of some sort.
They're going to need somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals, I mean, they can do a lot of damage in this draft, and they need to. But here's a really interesting pick next. We have the Dallas Cowboys on the clock here at 24, and there's a lot of speculation with the Cowboys and some rumors that Jerry Jones might even trade up. So many teams rumored to trade up. I think everybody wants to trade up.
Yeah.
But I had them go and tackle because they lost their tackle, Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a couple options here. But I know I had this guy from Oregon State, I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah,
Tallahassee Funga. But I had the next pick. Yeah, but I think he's solid. Yeah. I don't know if he's more of a guard, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. This is a really solid offensive tackle draft, and I've heard really good things about him. He moves real well, a little smaller than you like to be, but you know, I think he's a solid right tackle, like more of a mauler, like Darnell Wright, the Bears tackle from last year. But the Cowboys, I think, have to address the tackle spot.
No, you're right. And I think you mentioned before about them moving up in the draft. I think they have a championship window that they're within.
They lost some players and see how they do.
Yeah, they need to. I agree. They'll move up and address the tackle position. How far up they'll move, I'm not sure, but Penn State guy might be down there around like
we don't know where he's going to go.
Yeah, if he's in there in like the 10 through 15 range, I could see the Cowboys moving up and snaking him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know who the second, third, and fourth tackles are. And the next pick I have is a tackle going to 25. The Green Bay Packers are next up. And, you know, they have a good roster. They got Josh Jacobs in the offseason. Their wide receivers are kind of young and immature, but they need some tackles. They need some lineman help. But this is a guy who I think is going to go relatively pretty high. Is the offensive tackle guard from Washington. I think he may be a player tonight that could slip into the top 12 at least. I've heard a lot of things about him. He's a hot name. His name is Troy. I can't have my glasses zoom in there. Fatuna or something. I don't know.
Nailed it.
Yeah. But big guy, and he's a mauler.
Yeah.
And Green Bay Packers, I think they've lost some linemen. They got to replenish their line as well. You're going to see offensive tackles, I think, around this spot to start falling off the board.
Yeah, I think offensive linemen in general, this could be a good spot. I think also I mentioned was it Connor Barton from Duke? He could go in there, fill different roles along the offensive line for the Packers. I think Jordan Love's your dude, man. You got to protect him. I think they're gonna, if they can like build up a good offensive line, they'll have a very dangerous offense. That's for sure.
I think that's a really safe pick, though. I don't think Troy's going to be there, the guard tackle from Washington. I think he's probably more of a right tackle, but it's a solid, safe pick. And I mean, you look at some of these tackles and offensive linemen we're getting to, and like you just mentioned, the guard, tackle, center, whatever he is, the very versatile Graham Barton from Duke. I have him going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he played his first year at left tackle. That's amazing. Then he goes to center, and he's 6'5". He's got great size, good movement skills. I think he's a lock for their first round. I know you want him as a Panthers fan.
I hope he does fall because I am a Panthers fan, and the Panthers have no good reason for having a first round pick. But I would love Graham Barton to slip. But yeah, Tampa Bay needs some linemen also. I think you are right. During this kind of range in the draft, you'll see a bunch of offensive linemen, whether it's tackles, guards, even centers could be flying off the board during this time.
Yep.
So yeah, I looked at Tampa Bay taking an offensive lineman. It could be Graham Barton. It could, I mean, if the Oregon center slips this far, it could be him.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of good tackles and offensive linemen at this point in the draft. And this is a controversial player. I don't know where he falls. So the next up, again, we have the Arizona Cardinals picking yet again if they trade down, which is a very likely solution because they're at 4. And I think they're the driver's seat in this draft, really, because quarterbacks, I think, are going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're like talked about, where's McCarthy go? We're going to see a lot of smoke here revealed tonight. But if the Arizona Cardinals at 27 are picking, in our mock draft, we have 2 defensive players gone. They have the defensive tackle from Illinois, and I believe we had the Florida State defensive end verse going to them. So now we have them going offense, and I had them taking Keon Coleman, the FSU, Florida State wide receiver, and I don't know what to think of him because he was a great college player, very tall, like 6'4", 6'5", great hands. He's not going to run by you.
no.
But they said he's this one of those guys who accelerates really good for his size, kind of like a different version of Larry Fitzgerald. But how do you feel about Coleman as a pro?
I think if I had to put a more comparison with him, I'd probably say kind of like a Plaxico Burress.
Yeah, he's rangy.
Rangy. I think he's a little bit faster than what people might give him credit for, because I think he's a very long strider. He looks slow moving out there on the field, but
yeah,
he covers so much ground. I like him. Another player I would hope to follow the Panthers. Cardinals need receivers. Bad. I mean, anyone that can catch a cold, they're drafting or looking to draft maybe. I think he's a good player. I would take him if I'm the Cards.
They lost Hollywood. We don't know if they're going to go for speed or possession. He's more your possession receiver. I kind of have him compared to Michael Pittman Jr., the Colts wide receiver, but I think Pittman runs a little bit better. But so we had the Cardinals taking Keon Coleman, FSU wide receiver. Next, we have the dreaded Buffalo Bills. So the Gatos is sweating bullets this draft. They're rumored to also be trading up, and I don't think they have much of a draft capital to do it because I think they got a second or third rounder for Diggs next year's draft, and they got a lot of holes to fill. I mean, all over the roster. And I think the Bills are in big trouble this coming year because they have to hit in this draft. They have to.
They do. Honestly, if I'm the Bills, this is how I view it. Like, their championship window is over. They need to probably start looking to reload for the future because Josh Allen is still young. Like you can, it's not like he's late in his
Yeah,
career.
like they can still just kind of take a year off or two for a detour and reload and be back in it in 2 years. But I
Exactly.
think this coming year is going to be a little bit hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely do. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if the Buffalo Bills trade down, believe it or not. I could see a team, I'm going to mention my team, the Panthers, who might possibly trade up into the first. I don't want them
I
to.
could see them doing it.
Exactly. Uh, the Bills need more picks. They have lots of holes, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say I could possibly see them trade down. But
the Bills desperately need a wide receiver.
yes,
Uh,
1000%.
and I really like Troy Franklin, the wide receiver out of Oregon. He's 6'2", runs like a 4.3 flat. He is lightning. And his stats, and you watch his film, I watched a lot of him on tape. I think Franklin should be a lock at round one. I don't know if he will be, but like I said, this is a very talented wide receiver class. And I think Troy Franklin plays a lot like Stephon Diggs, and that's a plug and play if Buffalo gets him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. They're again deep receiver draft. Bills have no one to throw to right now. I mean, literally no one, a snowman up there maybe, but
Yeah.
they are whether they take Troy Franklin or someone else. I could see if Keon Coleman comes this far also, they're going to be taking a receiver if they don't trade back.
And I think the Bills got snaked last year because they drafted Kincaid. I believe they really wanted Zay Flowers, and that would have been a good fit for them. And the Buffalo's got some things to figure out. But no, this will be a fun draft. We got a lot of drama in this draft. Next team up is very interesting. The Detroit Lions. They just signed their lineman Sewell to a huge contract in Amon-Ra. That's about, I think, roughly over 200 million in contracts. I think the Amon-Ra contract is just ridiculous. $30 million for a guy who he's a good player in that system. I don't think he's elite. I think they way overpaid him. But Detroit's problem is their secondary. They're really good in offense. They don't need to touch their offense. Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, I think he's going to step up and have a better year. They got good running backs. They got a really good line. They got a veteran quarterback. They probably have one of the worst secondaries. You saw what San Francisco did to them in the playoffs. Detroit was up, and they just got burned later in the second half. And I think this pick makes a lot of sense. And I really like this guy, Cooper DeJean, from a cornerback from Iowa. He was a kick returner there, and I think he has a lot of good accolades. And this is go ahead and say it. This is a white guy playing cornerback, which is like Jason Sehorn or something like this. Is a rarity, but you do have to think about that. Like you don't see that a lot out there, but I do think he is a good pro. He's got good size. He runs very well. He played well in the Senior Bowl, I believe, and he's also he worked out very well at the combine. But he's from Iowa too. Like this is a guy from the Midwest. He seems to be a shoo-in fit and a neat pick for the Detroit Lions.
No, I mean, I like Cooper DeShawn. He sounds French. No, I like Cooper, not just because it's my name. And I actually think he has a chance to go higher in this draft, to be honest. We've been doing this mock. I would probably maybe disagree a little bit. I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's going to go top 20 in the draft. But Detroit Lions going DB makes perfect sense. I would also look at Kool-Aid, my boy, to go to Detroit as well. But yeah, DB of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, their offense is set. They really have to address their defense. They could also use another defensive end across the line from Hutchinson, but some pass rushers. I mean, having the best pass rush makes your pass or your defensive backs look a lot better. But I see them going heavy defense in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see right now a pass rusher at this. Yeah, I mean,
There's some, but they're not like they don't make your jaw drop. The value is not really there in this draft altogether.
Yeah, if you need a corner and a pass rusher, you're taking a corner here.
Yeah, I would too. But then we had the Baltimore Ravens. Great. I mean, they have a good roster, and it was talked about a pass rusher, but I think this guy kind of fits their system. They love pass rushers. They still need some offensive firepower, and I don't even want to get into the quarterback discussion there because they saw what happened in the playoffs. Lamar can't throw from the pocket. I think that's going to be their kryptonite for years. But I have them going after a pass rusher. Chop Robinson, the defensive end outside linebacker from Penn State. I don't know where he's going to go in this draft. He could be a player easily fall somewhere around 2. But in terms of pass rushers in this draft, there's not a lot of them. And I think because of need, they probably go after somebody like that. But I don't know if you remember the pro Parnell McPhee. He's outside linebacker, played for the Ravens for a while.
Yeah.
The Bears picked him up as a free agent. I think he's a lot like that. This guy's he's not huge. He's not that fast, but he's a good blend. He's just a strong player. Penn State's a tough defense for the most part.
Yeah, usually I do not like Penn State pass rushers. I don't feel like they do too well in the pros personally, but Chop Robinson could go here. I think the Ravens will be looking to bolster their defense. They lost that linebacker Queen, yes. So adding to the defense, I could see them going like because did they lose Odell?
Yeah, I mean, they could easily go for wide receiver again.
I could see a receiver here also to pair with Zay Flowers. They can go in a lot of different directions, but Chop Robinson wouldn't be a bad one.
Yeah, and so then we got 2 more picks in the first round here, of course. Next one, San Francisco. And the value here again is going to be wide receiver at the draft. There's a lot of rumors with both their wide receivers. They're also Debo's getting a little longer in the tooth.
Yeah.
But I had them taking a Donnie Mitchell, the wide receiver, and I believe this is the taller wide receiver, not the faster one. They have 2 really good wide receivers. I don't know what San Francisco could just. They have so many picks in this draft, if I remember. They got all these stupid compensation picks. Actually, I think I had this. I'm looking through my notes here. I think I got the players backwards because I forget the name of the other wide receiver. That's the
Xavier.
Yeah, he's the burner.
Mm-hmm.
And so Adonai Mitchell is I honestly don't know which one will go higher in this draft because one's really, really fast.
Yeah.
That's the guy that won the 4.21. And Mitchell had better stats, but he's like your 6'3", like can do everything wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be a perfect fit for San Francisco. But I mean, I think San Francisco, they're in a luxury position. They can just draft the best player available.
Mm-hmm.
They could be drafting a running back here.
We've
talked about that because if they have a running back, it's a stupid pick to draft a running back that high. But if they have a guy who they know fits a system, McCaffrey's gonna be around another 2 years, maybe. If he gets hurt, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, is this a spot where you could maybe take a running back? You think if you really wanted to?
Honestly, I think San Francisco might go D tackle.
There's some good ones there.
There's some solid defensive linemen. I think they're going to go D tackle. They lost what's his face on free agency.
Young, he wasn't really a loss because they had him there for a while, but they lost another one. I know what you're talking about. They lost a little bit, but their roster.
Oh, they're still solid, but like I could see them going D tackle. That was been their bread and butter, their defensive line. Make sure they strengthen that. But you're right. I don't know what they're going to do with like Debo or Ayuk. I mean, who knows what they're going to do there?
A lot of rumors around Ayuk in this draft wanting to trade him. So
yeah, I
don't think he'll end up going anywhere. Honestly,
I mean, they're still a good team, but they just another team that has a lot of moves here.
And so the next one's the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost that cornerback in free agent. Their nickelback, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That might be a good spot for them to get a cornerback here. But you just said it. The defensive tackle, defensive end, Darius Robinson out of Missouri. He could go to the San Francisco. I mean, he seems to fit San Francisco, but I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking him. Chris Jones isn't getting any younger. Kansas City, Kelsey's getting older. This is an important draft for Kansas City.
I think they're going to go receiver. I think they got that Xavier kid, that 4.21 guy, with Sheeter Ice playing speed derby out there on the highway.
I don't know. It sounds like they haven't cut him yet, but
I think I think it's already come out. I don't know how many games, but he is going to be suspended for at least 3 or 4
Yeah.
games. I mean, who knows what might happen? They need a receiver. Like Rasheed Rice was the only person that could catch for them,
Well,
and
they
he was
got
a
Marquise
rookie.
Brown now. Hollywood's there.
They got Hollywood. That's true, but I'd still they need another receiver.
They
They
got to
gotta have
start. I mean,
Kelsey's slowing down.
they got to reload on offense.
Yeah,
I would if you have Mahomes, I'll reload it.
you got Mahomes in his prime. You should be feeding them receivers and
Yes. And I mean, it's weird that they won the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, they
and having probably the bottom 5 in wide receivers in the league.
exactly. And that's how good Mahomes is.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah,
stupid.
you can't waste this talent.
But that's the first round, and this is we got the Panthers. We hadn't talked about the Panthers, so they had the first pick in the second round, and we talked about this all day today. They got to get some weapons for Bryce Young. They got to replace McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and I mean, you talked about offensive line, maybe to get in. I don't think Barton's going to fall that far, but if you can't get a good lineman, I think you go receiver here. There's still a lot of value there. You could get one of the Texas guys. And we talked about this at lunch today, kind of. Xavier Legette, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. I have him compared to Debo, but I think that'd be a good. It seems to be like a local favorite kind of pick, and I think it's a good fit. But I don't know where he'll go in the draft. But if you had to get a wide receiver at this point in the draft, who do you hope falls to the Panthers?
I'm hoping Keon Coleman falls.
Okay.
I think there's a possibility there. One of the Texas receivers. More so was the Adai Mitchell. Yeah. More him. I think Xavier. I don't know if he would work well with the Panthers. I think he needs a quarterback like Mahomes to really
Make him blossom.
So those are kind of the receivers I'm looking at. I'm going to also mention an offensive line. I mean, I know we mentioned Graham Barton probably won't fall there, but I mean, I'm crossing fingers if he does. But another offensive lineman is Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia. Dude's a stud. I actually think he would probably snuck in the first round if it wasn't for his injury.
Yeah, injuries play a part in all that stuff.
So I would keep an eye out for him too.
So draft's going to start here in less than an hour. Trying to think of some crazy things that might happen, and I think the cornerback from Toledo, we talked about that, is going to go much higher than you think. The Texas defensive tackle could fly off the board a lot earlier than we think. And Penix, the quarterback from Washington. So we've been doing these podcasts for about 2 weeks now. I think he's going to slip into the top 15.
Well, I mean, he could.
Like the Raiders, a lot of talk. And what if Penix slips into the top 10? Would that blow your mind?
I mean, anything's possible, but if that happens, like some team chasing some fool's gold there, I think. I like Penix fine, but I don't think he's like all that.
I think I think there will be at least 5 quarterbacks taken first round tonight, possibly 6. And if I had to pick 3 that were going to be bust, Penix, Bo Nix, and I think Jalen Daniels got a little bit of bust potential. I look at his frame, the way he's built and throwing to those wide receivers. He's 24 years old. Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was funny. There was some meme or something, a highlight of Jaden Daniels throwing a touchdown against it when he was playing for Arizona State against Justin Herbert in Oregon. And you kind of forget that Jaden Daniels has been around for a while.
Yeah, these guys are, yeah.
I mean, people were giving Bo Nix a little hell for being 24, and I think Jaden Daniels just slipped through the cracks.
And we talked about it at lunch. What would be funny if the Broncos drafted Bo Nix, he'd be the same age as Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's kind of some funny stuff. Well, draft's going to start here soon. We hope the Packers blow it. And I think the other thing to look out for, which I'm scared to death and being a Bears fan, what if Justin Herbert goes to the Minnesota Vikings? That's another rumor. Yeah. Any rumors you think might come to fruition today?
I think possible the Panthers trade up. I think that's big possibility. Colts are a lot of smoke around the Colts trading up, and I think you could see that.
There will be some trading. As Mel Kiper said, this is one of the, he expects this to be I forget the word he said, but dynamic, most intriguing drafts in 45 years.
So by the sound,
get your popcorn ready. The commission's here and we got the barbecue. So the podcast has officially ended.
that's right. Ribs and wings. Woo!
That's right, guys. Adios.
Bye.